Alex Carter was not someone who liked taking risks. A quiet and careful person, Alex had always preferred working behind the scenes, solving problems with their hands rather than stepping into the spotlight. As an engineer aboard the cargo vessel Starlight Runner, they were used to fixing things that others thought were beyond repair. But nothing could have prepared them for what happened that day. The Starlight Runner was a modest ship, built for hauling supplies across the vast stretches of space. Its mission was simple: deliver food, medicine, and equipment to a distant colony struggling to survive on the edge of human expansion. The journey would take weeks, but Alex didn't mind. They found comfort in the hum of the engines and the predictable rhythm of life aboard the ship. On the 7th day of the voyage, everything changed. It started with a routine maintenance task. One of the external panels on the ship's hull needed inspection after sensors detected unusual vibrations. Alex volunteered to go outside, since it was something they'd done countless times before. Clad in their standard-issue spacesuit, they stepped out of the airlock and floated toward the panel. The view was breathtaking. A sea of stars stretched endlessly around them, interrupted only by the sleek silver curve of the Starlight Runner. For a moment, Alex forgot about the job and just stared at the infinite expanse. But then came the storm. No one saw it coming. Micrometeoroids, tiny fragments of rock and metal traveling at incredible speeds, tore through the area like invisible bullets. Alarms blared inside the ship as the crew scrambled to assess the damage. Outside, Alex barely had time to react. A sharp tug jerked them sideways, and they realized their tether, the lifeline connecting them to the ship, had snapped. Panic surged through their chest as they drifted away from the safety of the hull. "Help!" Alex shouted into their comms, though they knew how futile it was. Sound doesn't travel in space, and their voice would only echo back to them. Still, they couldn't stop themselves. "I'm loose. I need help." Inside the ship, chaos reigned. The micrometeoroid storm wasn't letting up, and debris pelted the hull relentlessly. The captain, a grizzled man named Marcus Hiley, barked orders over the intercom. "Secure the cargo bay. Divert power to shields. We can't afford any more." Damage. When Alex's desperate cries reached the bridge, Holly hesitated. He glanced at his first officer, a wiry woman named Karen Blake, whose face was pale with worry. "We can't send anyone else out there," she said firmly. "If we lose another crew member, this whole mission falls apart." Holly clenched. His jaw, every instinct screamed at him to save Alex, but he also knew the stakes. The colony depended on their delivery. Without those supplies, thousands of people would suffer, or worse. Finally, he made his decision. "We're jumping to hyperspace," he announced coldly. "Now," Karen looked horrified. "What about Alex?" "We can't just leave them out there. We don't have a choice," Holly snapped. His voice softened slightly, though his expression remained hard. "They knew the risks when they signed up. We have a duty to the colony." And with that, the order was given. The engines roared to life, and the Starlight Runner vanished into hyperspace, leaving Alex alone in the void. For hours, Alex floated silently, their breath fogging the visor of their helmet. At first, they tried to stay calm, focusing on conserving oxygen and scanning for any sign of rescue. But as the minutes ticked by, reality began to sink in. No one was coming back for them. They were truly alone. The silence was overwhelming. In the absence of sound, every movement felt exaggerated. The creak of their suit, the faint hiss of air recycling through the filters. It was maddening. Alex closed their eyes and tried to think of anything but their situation. They thought about home, about the little apartment they shared with their dog, Max. They thought about the last time they'd laughed with friends, the warmth of sunlight on their skin. Anything to distract themselves from the crushing loneliness. Time lost. All meaning. Was it hours? Days? Alex couldn't tell anymore. Their body ached from lack of movement, and their throat burned with thirst. The oxygen gauge on their wrist displayed numbers that were far too low for comfort. Despair crept in like a shadow, whispering cruel truths. No one was coming, and they were going to die out here. But then, something happened. A distant rumble shook the emptiness, growing louder with each passing second. Alex opened their eyes, squinting against the glare of nearby stars. At first, they thought it was their imagination playing tricks on them. But then they saw it, a massive shape, emerging from the darkness, its silhouette sharp against the backdrop of space. It was a warship, larger than anything Alex had ever seen. Bristling with weapons and glowing with energy, the ship thundered closer, its engines roaring like a storm unleashed. Alex's heart raced as they realized it might be their only chance. Summoning the last of their strength, they waved their arms wildly, hoping someone aboard would notice. The warship slowed, its massive frame casting a shadow over Alex as it loomed above them. Lights flickered along its hull, and a mechanical arm extended, pulling Alex toward an open hatch dot. As they were brought inside, Alex collapsed onto the cold metal floor, their vision swimming. Voices echoed around them, muffled and distant. Someone knelt beside them, checking their vitals. Through blurred vision, Alex caught a glimpse of a uniform, a patch bearing the emblem of the United Earth Fleet. "You're safe now," a woman's voice said softly. "Welcome aboard the Eclipse Vanguard." Alex wanted to respond, to thank whoever had saved them, but exhaustion claimed them before they could speak. As unconsciousness took hold, one thought lingered in their mind. They weren't alone anymore. Far away, the Starlight Runner continued its journey, unaware of the drama unfolding behind them. Captain Hawley sat in his chair, staring at the empty seat where Alex used to sit. Guilt gnawed at him, but he pushed it aside. There was work to do, lives depending on their success. Still, as he gazed out at the endless stars, he couldn't shake the image of Alex drifting helplessly into the void. Meanwhile, aboard the Eclipse Vanguard, Alex slept fitfully, their dreams filled with flashes of light and deafening roars. Little did they know, their ordeal was far from over. The warship carried secrets that would test Alex's courage, challenge their beliefs, and force them to confront the darkest corners of humanity's reach into the cosmos. For now, though they were safe, and in the vast, unforgiving expanse of space, that was enough. When Alex woke up, they were lying on a narrow bed in what looked like a medical bay. The room was dimly lit, with soft beeping sounds coming from machines around them. At first, everything felt blurry and distant, as if they were still floating in space. But then the memories came rushing back, the broken tether, the micrometeoroid storm, the cold silence, and finally, the massive warship that had saved them. A tall woman with short brown hair stood nearby, checking something on a tablet. She noticed Alex stirring and gave them a small smile. "You're awake," she said, her voice calm but firm. "How are you feeling?" Alex blinked a few times, trying to focus. I think I'm okay," they replied hesitantly. Their throat was dry, and their body felt heavy, like it wasn't used to gravity anymore. The woman nodded. "That's good. You've been unconscious for about 12 hours. We patched you up and rehydrated you. You'll feel better soon." She paused, then added, "My name is Dr. Emily Ross. I'm the ship's medic." "Thank you," Alex murmured, "for saving me." Dr. Ross shook her head slightly. "Don't thank me yet. You'll want to talk to Captain Hayes when you're ready. She's the one who decided to bring you aboard." Captain Hayes, the name sent a shiver down Alex's spine. They didn't know much about this warship or its crew, but the idea of meeting its leader made them nervous. Still, they couldn't deny the relief washing over them just knowing they weren't alone anymore. Later that day, Alex was escorted to the bridge of the Eclipse Vanguard. The ship was enormous, far bigger than the Starlight Runner, and every corridor buzzed with activity. Soldiers in crisp uniforms walked briskly past, exchanging clipped orders. Panels lined the walls, displaying streams of data and glowing maps of star systems. It all felt overwhelming, but Alex tried to keep their composure. The bridge was even more impressive. Large windows stretched across the front, offering a breathtaking view of space. In the center stood a commanding figure, her back turned as she studied a holographic display. This had to be Captain Lara Hayes. When she turned around, Alex saw a woman in her late 40s with sharp features and piercing blue eyes. Her presence demanded respect, and Alex instinctively straightened up. "So, you're the survivor," Captain Hayes said, her tone neutral. "Welcome aboard the Eclipse Vanguard." "Thank you, Captain," Alex replied, their voice steady despite their nerves. "I don't know how to repay you for saving me." Hayes waved a hand dismissively. "Don't mention it. We happen to be passing through. Besides, leaving someone to die isn't our style." She studied Alex for a moment, then gestured for them to follow her to a quieter corner of the bridge. "We're on a classified mission," Hayes explained once they were out of earshot of the others. "Tracking down rogue factions operating in this sector. When we picked you up, we assumed you were part of one of those groups." Alex shook their head quickly. "No, I'm not. I was just a crew member on a cargo ship, the Starlight Runner. They left me behind during a micrometeoroid storm." Hayes raised an eyebrow. "They abandoned you? That doesn't sound like standard protocol." "It wasn't," Alex admitted, their voice tinged with bitterness. "Our captain chose the mission over me. Said they couldn't risk losing any more time." Hayes frowned but didn't press further. Instead, she changed the subject. "Well, you're here now. And since you're an engineer, you might actually be useful to us. Our chief engineer could use an extra pair of hands." Alex hesitated. They hadn't expected to stay aboard the warship, let alone contribute to its mission. But the thought of being stranded again or worse, sent off somewhere unknown, was unbearable. "I'd be happy to help," they said finally. Hayes nodded approvingly. "Good. Report to Lieutenant Cole. He's our navigator, and he'll show you around. Just remember, what happens on this ship stays on this ship. Understood?" "Yes, Captain," Alex replied, though they weren't entirely sure what that meant. Lieutenant Ryan Cole turned out to be a friendly face amidst the intimidating environment of the Eclipse Vanguard. He was younger than most of the other officers, probably in his early 30s, with messy blonde hair and a warm smile. When Alex met him, he greeted them with an easygoing handshake. "Glad to have you aboard," Ryan said cheerfully. "We don't get many visitors out here." Alex managed a weak smile. "Thanks. I'm still trying to wrap my head around everything." Ryan chuckled. "Yeah, it can be a lot at first. Don't worry, you'll get used to it. Come on, I'll show you where you'll be working." He led Alex to the engineering deck, a sprawling area filled with humming machinery and blinking lights. The chief engineer, a gruff man named Sam Brooks, barely glanced up as they entered. "Another set of hands," he muttered. "Fine by me. Just don't break anything." Ryan rolled his eyes playfully. "Ignore him. He's always like this. Anyway, Alex, your job will mostly involve routine maintenance and repairs. Nothing too crazy." As Alex settled into their new role, they began to notice things about the Eclipse Vanguard that didn't quite add up. Conversations between crew members often stopped abruptly when Alex approached, and some people seemed uneasy whenever certain topics came up. One night, while sharing a meal with Ryan in the mess hall, Alex decided to ask about it. "Is there something going on?" Alex ventured cautiously. "Everyone seems tense." Ryan hesitated, glancing around to make sure no one else was listening. "It's complicated," he admitted. "This mission, it's not just about hunting down rogue factions. There's something bigger at stake." "What do you mean?" Alex pressed. Ryan sighed. "I shouldn't say too much, but let's just say we're looking for something powerful, something that could change everything for better or worse. The cryptic answer only deepened Alex's unease. They wanted to trust Ryan, but the secrecy surrounding the mission made it hard to feel completely safe. Still, they couldn't deny the camaraderie growing between them. Ryan had a way of making Alex feel less like an outsider and more like part of the team. Over the next few days, Alex threw themselves into their work, finding solace in the familiar rhythm of fixing engines and troubleshooting systems. It was comforting to focus on something tangible after the chaos of their rescue. Even Sam warmed up to them slightly, occasionally cracking jokes or offering advice, but the tension aboard the ship never fully disappeared. During downtime, Alex overheard snippets of conversations that hinted at divisions within the crew. Some believed the mission was worth any cost, while others whispered about the dangers of pushing too far. Captain Hayes remained an enigma, her decisions both decisive and unpredictable. One evening, as Alex strolled through the corridors, they stumbled upon a heated argument between two crew members. One was Karen Blake, the ship's first officer, and the other was a junior engineer named Jake Miller. "This is insane," Jake hissed. "We're risking everything for something we don't even understand." Karen crossed her arms. "Orders are orders. If Captain Hayes says we keep going, then we keep going." "But what if it's not worth it?" Jake shot back. "What if we're playing with fire?" Before Karen could respond, she noticed Alex standing nearby. Her expression hardened. "This conversation is over," she snapped, grabbing Jake by the arm and dragging him away. Alex stood frozen, their mind racing. Whatever the Eclipse Vanguard was searching for, it clearly carried risks, so not everyone agreed on whether they should take them. As Alex returned to their quarters that night, they stared out the porthole at the endless stars. For the first time since being rescued, they wondered if they'd traded one dangerous situation for another. The silence outside the ship was no longer comforting. It was full of questions, fears, and possibilities Alex wasn't sure they were ready to face. But one thing was certain: their journey was far from over. Days turned into weeks aboard the Eclipse Vanguard, and Alex slowly grew accustomed to life on the warship. The routine of work, meals, and brief moments of rest became familiar, though the weight of unanswered questions lingered in the air. Every time Alex thought they were starting to understand their place on the ship, something new would happen to remind them how little they truly knew. One morning, Alex was called to the bridge earlier than usual. When they arrived, the atmosphere was tense. Captain Hayes stood at the center of the room, her sharp eyes scanning the crew as data streamed across the holographic displays around her. Lieutenant Ryan Cole was already there, his usual cheerful demeanor replaced by a look of concern. "What's going on?" Alex asked quietly, leaning toward Ryan. "We intercepted a transmission," Ryan whispered back, "from one of the rogue factions we've been tracking." Before Alex could ask more, Captain Hayes addressed the room. "Listen up. We've picked up encrypted communications from a group calling themselves the Voidborn. They're operating near the edge of our current patrol zone. Based on the intel, they may be linked to what we're looking for." Alex felt a chill run down their spine. The Voidborn. The name sounded ominous, like something out of a nightmare. What could these people, or whatever they were, possibly want with the mysterious object the Eclipse Vanguard was hunting? Hayes continued, her voice firm. "Our orders are clear. We locate their base, assess the threat, and neutralize it if necessary. This is not a negotiation, understood?" The crew nodded in unison, though Alex noticed a few exchanged glances that suggested not everyone shared the captain's confidence. Still, no one dared to speak against her. Later that day, Alex found themselves working alongside Sam Brooks, the gruff chief engineer, in the engine room. As they adjusted a panel on one of the ship's auxiliary systems, Alex decided to test the waters. "So, what do you think about this mission?" Alex asked casually, keeping their focus on the task at hand. Sam paused, his wrench hovering mid-air. He glanced at Alex, then let out a low grunt. "You're asking the wrong person, kid. I just fix things. Whatever Hayes wants, she gets." "But doesn't it bother you?" Alex pressed. "All the secrecy? The risks?" Sam sighed, setting the wrench down. For a moment, he looked older, his rough exterior softening slightly. "Look, I've been doing this job long enough to know when to ask questions and when to keep my mouth shut. If Hayes says we're doing the right thing, then fine. But yeah, sometimes I wonder if we're playing with forces we don't fully understand." His words echoed Ryan's earlier warning, leaving Alex even more uneasy. Before they could say anything else, an alarm blared through the ship. Red lights flashed overhead, and a mechanical voice announced, "All hands to battle stations." Alex's heart raced as they hurried to the nearest console. The bridge was Chaos crew members shouted updates, while Captain Hayes barked commands. On the main display, a cluster of ships appeared, their designs unlike anything Alex had ever seen. They looked almost organic, with jagged edges and pulsating lights. "It's the Voidborn," Karen Blake said grimly, her fingers flying over her controls. "They've detected us." "Prepare weapons," Hayes ordered. "But hold fire unless provoked. We don't want to escalate unnecessarily." The tension in the room was palpable. Alex watched as the alien ships moved closer, their movements fluid and deliberate. It was as if they weren't just machines, they were alive. A shiver ran down Alex's spine. Suddenly, one of the ships fired a beam of energy, narrowly missing. The Eclipse Vanguard. The impact shook the entire vessel, sending several crew members stumbling. "They're attacking!" Someone yelled. All guns return fire. Hayes commanded, her voice cutting through the noise like a knife. The battle erupted in earnest. Explosions lit up the darkness of space as the Eclipse Vanguard retaliated, its cannons blasting away at the enemy ships. Alex clung to a railing, watching in awe and terror as the fight unfolded. Despite the chaos, the crew worked together seamlessly. Each person focused on their role. Amidst the commotion, Alex spotted Ryan at a nearby station, his hands moving quickly over the navigation controls. Their eyes met briefly, and Ryan gave them a reassuring nod. It was a small gesture, but it helped steady Alex's nerves. After what felt like hours, the Voidborn ships began to retreat, disappearing into the void as suddenly as they had appeared. The bridge fell silent except for the hum of the ship's engines and the occasional beep of consoles resetting. "We won," Karen said, exhaling sharply. For now, Hez didn't celebrate. Her face remained stern as she turned to address the crew. "Good work, everyone. But this isn't over. The Voidborn know we're onto them. We need to move faster." That night, Alex couldn't sleep. The images of the battle replayed in their mind, the eerie glow of the Voidborn ships, the deafening roar of explosions, the way the crew had fought so fiercely to protect their own. It was all too much to process. Unable to stay still, Alex wandered the corridors until they ended up in the mess hall. To their surprise, Ryan was there, sitting alone at a table with a cup of coffee in front of him. He looked up as Alex approached. "Couldn't sleep either?" Ryan asked, gesturing for Alex to sit. "No," Alex admitted, sliding into the seat across from him. "I can't stop thinking about what happened." "About the Voidborn," Ryan nodded knowingly. "Yeah, they're unsettling. Most people think they're just another rogue faction, but there's something different about them, something unnatural." "What do you mean?" Alex asked, leaning forward. Ryan hesitated, glancing around to make sure they were alone. "Some of us believe they're not entirely human, or maybe not human at all. There are rumors that they've been experimenting with alien tech, trying to merge it with biology. If that's true..." He trailed off, shaking his head. Alex swallowed hard. "And the artifact we're looking for? Do you think it has something to do with them?" Ryan shrugged. "Maybe. All I know is that whatever it is, It's powerful enough to scare even Captain Hayes. And that's saying something. The two sat in silence for a while, lost in their thoughts. Finally, Alex spoke. Do you ever wonder if we're doing the right thing? Hunting for something like this? Ryan smiled faintliness. Every day. But here's the thing, we don't always get to choose the missions we're given. All we can do is try to make the best decisions we can with the information we have. It wasn't exactly comforting, but Alex appreciated the honesty. As they finished their coffee and headed back to their quarters, Alex realized they'd formed a bond with Ryan, one built on trust. Even in the face of uncertainty. The next morning, Alex reported to the engineering deck as usual. But this time, Sam pulled them aside. We've got a problem, he said, his tone unusually serious. One of the reactors is showing signs of instability. Could be stress from the battle, or it could be sabotage. Sabotage. Alex's stomach dropped. Who would do that? Sam frowned. That's what we need to figure out. Keep your eyes open, kid. Things might not be as stable as they seem around here. As Alex went about their tasks, they couldn't shake the feeling that the cracks in the crew's unity were widening. Whispers of dissent grew louder, and some crew members avoided eye contact altogether. Even Captain Hayes seemed more withdrawn, spending less time on the bridge and more in private meetings with her senior officers. One evening, Alex overheard part of a heated discussion between Karen Blake and another officer. We can't keep following orders blindly, Karen argued. If we push too far, we risk losing everything. The other officer shot back. And if we stop now, everything we've sacrificed will be for nothing. Alex slipped away before they could be noticed, their mind racing. The mission was tearing the crew apart, and Alex couldn't help but feel caught in the middle of it all. As they lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, Alex wondered how much longer they could stay silent. The secrets of the Eclipse Vanguard were unraveling, and sooner or later, they would have to choose a side. But for now, the stars outside the porthole remained silent witnesses, their cold light offering no answers. The tension aboard the Eclipse Vanguard reached a boiling point over the next few days. The reactor issue Sam had mentioned wasn't improving, and whispers of sabotage spread like wildfire among the crew. No one knew who to trust anymore, and the once unified team began fracturing into factions. Some, like Karen Blake, believed the mission was too dangerous and wanted to abandon it. Others, loyal to Captain Hayes, argued that turning back would mean betraying humanity's future. Alex found themselves caught in the middle of the growing divide. They respected Captain Hayes for her leadership, but couldn't ignore the unease creeping into their chest. Every time they walked through the corridors, they felt eyes watching them, judging them. It was as if everyone suspected everyone else of being responsible for the instability threatening the ship, and maybe even the mission itself. One afternoon, Alex was summoned to the bridge again. When they arrived, the mood was grim. Captain Hayes stood at the center, her arms crossed tightly over her chest. Karen Blake was there too, along with several senior officers, including Lieutenant Ryan Cole. Their faces were pale, strained, as if they'd been arguing for hours. "We have a problem," Hayes said without preamble, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. "Someone tampered with the navigation system last night. We're off course, and unless we fix it soon, we'll drift too far from our target." Alex's stomach sank. This wasn't just a technical glitch, it was deliberate. Someone on the ship didn't want them reaching their destination. Who did it? Alex asked before they could stop themselves. Hayes shot them a hard look. "That's what we're trying to figure out. But I won't tolerate mutiny on my ship. Whoever is behind this will answer for it." Karen stepped forward, her expression defiant. "Maybe instead of accusing people, we should ask why someone might feel desperate enough to do this. This mission isn't just risky, it's reckless, and you know it." Hayes glared at her. "Reckless or not, it's our duty to see it through. If you can't handle that, then maybe you shouldn't be here." The room fell silent, the weight of Hayes's words hanging heavy in the air. Karen clenched her fists but didn't respond. Instead, she turned and stormed out, leaving the rest of the group to deal with the fallout. Later that day, Alex decided to talk to Ryan about what they'd witnessed. They found him in the mess hall, picking at a tray of food. He looked up when Alex approached, forcing a weak smile. "Hey," he said. "You okay?" Alex shook their head as they sat down across from him. "Not really." "What's happening on?" "This ship, it feels like it's falling apart." Ryan sighed, pushing his tray aside. "It's complicated. Some people think Hayes is leading us into something we can't control. Others believe she's doing the right thing, no matter the cost. And then there are those who just don't care either way, they're just following orders." "But what do you think?" Alex pressed. Ryan hesitated, his gaze dropping to the table. I think we're playing with forces none of us fully understand. Whatever artifact we're chasing, it's powerful. Maybe too powerful. And if we're not careful, it could destroy us or worse." His words sent a chill through Alex. They thought back to the battle with the Voidborn, the strange designs of their ships, and the rumors Ryan had shared about alien technology. Was the artifact connected to all of that? And if so, what would happen if humanity got its hands on it? Before Alex could say anything more, an announcement blared over the intercom. "All personnel report to the engineering deck immediately. Repeat, all personnel to the engineering deck." They exchanged worried glances with Ryan. Something big was about to happen. When Alex and Ryan arrived at the engineering deck, the scene was chaotic. Crew members rushed around, shouting updates and checking monitors. In the center of it all stood Sam Brooks, his face red with frustration. "What's going on?" Alex asked, stepping closer. Sam pointed to one of the reactors. "It's worse than we thought. Someone didn't just tamper with the navigation system. They rigged this reactor to overload. If we don't shut it down now, the whole ship could go up." Panic rippled through the room. Alex felt their heart pounding as they joined the effort to stabilize the reactor. For hours they worked alongside the crew, sweat dripping down their faces as they struggled to contain the growing crisis. Just when it seemed like they might succeed, another alarm sounded. "The coolant lines are failing," someone shouted. "We need to vent them manually." Without hesitation, Sam grabbed a toolkit and headed toward the reactor core. "Stay back," he yelled over his shoulder. "This is my job." "No," Alex shouted, running after him. "You can't do this alone." Sam stopped and turned, his expression softening for a moment. "Someone has to. Besides, I've been doing this longer than any of you. Let me handle it." Before Alex could argue further, Sam disappeared into the core chamber. Moments later, the alarms stopped, and the reactor stabilized. But when Sam emerged, he collapsed to the ground, his suit scorched and his breathing labored. Medics rushed to his side, but it was clear he wouldn't make it. As they carried him away, Sam managed a weak smile. "Told you. I fix things," he murmured before closing his eyes for the last time. The room fell silent, the weight of his sacrifice settling over everyone. Alex felt tears welling up in their eyes. Sam had given his life to save the ship, and maybe the mission, but at what cost? In the aftermath of the incident, tensions aboard the Eclipse Vanguard only grew worse. An investigation revealed that the sabotage had been carried out by a small group of dissenters, led by Chief Engineer Samantha Brooks. She confessed during questioning, claiming she'd acted out of fear for the crew's safety. "I couldn't." "Let us keep going," Samantha said, her voice trembling. "This artifact, it's not meant for us. We're meddling with things we don't understand. I couldn't stand by and watch us destroy ourselves." Captain Hayes listened impassively, her face unreadable. When Samantha finished speaking, Hayes simply nodded. "Your concerns are noted," she said coldly. But your actions endangered the lives of everyone on this ship. You'll face the consequences. Samantha was placed under arrest, confined to quarters until further notice. Her followers were reassigned to menial tasks, stripped of their responsibilities. The message was clear. Dissent would not be tolerated. That night, Alex lay awake in their bunk, staring at the ceiling. The events of the day replayed in their mind. The chaos in the engineering deck, Sam's sacrifice, Samantha's confession. It was all too much to process. They thought about Ryan's earlier warning, about how dangerous the artifact might be. Were they truly doing the right thing by pursuing it? Or were they making the same mistake Samantha had feared? Unable to sleep, Alex slipped out of bed and made their way to the observation deck. The vast expanse of space stretched out before them, endless and indifferent. It was both beautiful and terrifying, a reminder of how small and fragile humanity really was. As they stood there, lost in thought, Ryan appeared beside them. Neither spoke for a while, content to simply share the silence. Finally, Ryan broke it. "You look like you've got a lot on your mind," he said gently. Alex nodded. I keep thinking about Sam, about Samantha, about everything. Do you think we're doing the right thing?" Ryan sighed, leaning against the railing. "Honestly, I don't know. All I know is that we've come this far. Turning back now wouldn't change anything. It'd just leave everything unresolved." "But what if we're wrong?" Alex asked. "What if the artifact is more dangerous than anyone realizes?" Ryan met their gaze, his expression serious. "Then we'll deal with it when the time comes, together." His words brought a small measure of comfort, though Alex still felt uneasy. As they gazed out at the stars, they realized the hardest decisions were yet to come. Whatever happened next, they knew they couldn't face it alone. For now, though, the silence of space offered a brief moment of peace, a fleeting reprieve before the storm ahead. The Eclipse Vanguard finally reached its destination, a remote region of space filled with swirling cosmic energy and strange, glowing formations that pulsed like living things. The artifact they had been searching for was somewhere in this chaotic expanse, hidden among the bizarre phenomena that defied explanation. As the ship moved closer, Alex felt a mix of awe and unease. This place didn't feel natural, it felt alien, as if it existed outside the rules of the universe. Captain Hayes stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the main display. Her expression was unreadable, but her posture suggested tension. "Prepare for landing," she ordered. "We'll deploy ground teams once we locate the artifact." Alex exchanged nervous glances with Ryan, who stood nearby. Neither of them had expected to leave the safety of the ship, but it seemed unavoidable now. Whatever lay ahead, they would have to face it together. When the Eclipse Vanguard touched down on a rocky surface near the heart of the anomaly, the crew suited up and prepared to disembark. Alex joined a small team led by Lieutenant Cole, along with a few soldiers armed with advanced weapons. Captain Hayes stayed behind to oversee operations from the ship, trusting Ryan to lead the mission on the ground. As they stepped out onto the alien terrain, Alex was struck by how surreal it felt. The air shimmered with an eerie light, casting everything in shades of blue and green. Strange shapes floated in the distance, shifting and morphing like clouds made of liquid metal. It was beautiful but also deeply unsettling, this place. "Gives me the creeps," one of the soldiers muttered under their breath. Ryan nodded. "Stay sharp. We don't know what's out here." They moved cautiously, following readings from handheld scanners that pointed them toward the artifacts. Location. The closer they got, the stranger the environment became. Gravity seemed inconsistent, pulling them in different directions at random moments. Sounds echoed unnaturally, as if the very fabric of space was bending around them. After hours of navigating the treacherous landscape, they found it, the artifact. It was unlike anything Alex had ever seen. A massive structure, shaped like a jagged spiral, hovered silently above the ground. Its surface shimmered with intricate patterns that shifted constantly, as if alive. Energy crackled around it, creating arcs of light that danced through the air. "Is that it?" Alex whispered, unable to tear their eyes away. "It matches the intel," Ryan confirmed, his voice tinged with wonder. "This is definitely the artifact." Before anyone could react further, a low rumble shook the ground beneath their feet. The spiral began to spin faster, emitting a high-pitched hum that vibrated through their suits. Suddenly, ships appeared. On the horizon, dozens of them, their designs unmistakably belonging to the Voidborn. "They're here," Ryan said grimly, raising his weapon. "Everyone, take cover." The Voidborn descended quickly, surrounding the artifact with their eerie, organic-looking vessels. Soldiers from the Eclipse Vanguard opened fire, but their shots seemed to pass harmlessly through the enemy ships. In response, beams of energy lashed out, striking the ground with devastating force. Alex ducked behind a rock formation, heart pounding. This wasn't just a battle, it was a nightmare. The Voidborn weren't attacking randomly. They were protecting the artifact. Every move the humans made was met with overwhelming resistance. "We can't win like this," one of the soldiers shouted over the comlink. "Their tech is too advanced." Ryan gritted his teeth, scanning the battlefield. He spotted a control panel embedded in the base of the artifact. If they could disable it, maybe they could stop the Voidborn from using it, or worse, activating it themselves. "Alex!" he called, gesturing urgently. "I need your help." Alex scrambled to his side, fear gripping their chest. "What do you need?" "That panel," Ryan explained, pointing to the glowing interface. "Can you figure out how to shut it down?" Alex hesitated. The technology was completely alien, unlike anything they'd ever encountered, but they nodded anyway. "I'll try." Together, they sprinted toward the artifact, dodging blasts of energy as they went. When they reached the panel, Alex knelt down, examining the controls. The symbols were incomprehensible, but there was a pattern to the way they shifted and rearranged themselves. Focusing intently, Alex began pressing combinations, hoping to trigger some kind of response. Behind them, the fighting raged on. The Voidborn pressed their advantage, forcing the human soldiers back toward the ship. Casualties mounted, and morale plummeted. Despite the chaos, Ryan stayed close to Alex, shielding them as best he could. "I think I've got it," Alex exclaimed suddenly, their fingers flying over the controls. The artifact let out a deep, resonant hum, and the spinning spiral slowed slightly. "Keep going," Ryan urged, firing his weapon at an approaching Voidborn drone dot, just as Alex input the final sequence. A massive explosion rocked the area. One of the Voidborn ships had crashed nearby, sending debris flying in all directions. Alex and Ryan were thrown to the ground, their suits scraping against the rough surface. When the dust settled, Alex gradually pushed themselves up, checking for injuries. Ryan helped them to their feet, his face pale but determined. "Did it work?" he asked. Alex looked back at the artifact. The spiral had stopped spinning entirely, and the glowing patterns had dimmed. For a moment, it seemed like they'd succeeded. But then, a new sound emerged, a low, guttural roar that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. The Voidborn ships began retreating, disappearing into the void as quickly as they'd arrived. Whatever the artifact was, it hadn't been fully deactivated. It was waking up. Back aboard the Eclipse Vanguard, Captain Hayes watched the unfolding events with growing concern. Reports flooded in from the ground team, detailing the escalating situation. She knew they couldn't stay much longer, not without risking total destruction. "Prepare for emergency launch," she ordered. "We need to extract the ground team immediately." On the planet's surface, Ryan grabbed Alex's arm. "We have to go, now." "But the artifact," Alex protested. "There's nothing more we can do," Ryan interrupted. "If we stay, we die." and that won't help anyone. Reluctantly, Alex followed him back toward the ship. As they ran, the artifact continued to pulse with energy, its glow intensifying with each passing second. By the time they reached the landing zone, the rest of the team was already aboard. The engines roared to life, lifting the Eclipse Vanguard off the ground just as another wave of void-born ships appeared on the horizon. Once safely back on the ship, Alex collapsed into a chair, exhausted and shaken. Ryan sat beside them, equally drained. Neither spoke. They didn't need to. They both knew they'd narrowly escaped disaster. Captain Hayes entered the room, her expression grim. "Status report," she demanded. Ryan sighed. "The artifact is still active, but we managed to disrupt its systems temporarily. The Voidborn are guarding it heavily, and their technology is far beyond ours. We can't fight them directly." Hayes nodded slowly. "Then we'll have to find another way. This isn't over." Alex looked up, their mind racing. They thought about Sam's sacrifice, Samantha's warnings, and the countless lives that hung in the balance. They thought about the artifact, pulsing with power that no one truly understood. And they thought about the choice they might soon have to make. For now, though, the Eclipse Vanguard sped away from the alien world, leaving the artifact and its secrets behind. But Alex knew one thing for certain: they hadn't seen the last of it. The Eclipse Vanguard raced through space, its engines roaring as it fled the alien world and the chaos left behind. The artifact's energy still lingered in Alex's mind, a haunting reminder of the power they had encountered and barely escaped. The ship's crew was battered but alive, though the losses weighed heavily on everyone. Silence filled the corridors, broken only by the occasional murmur of voices discussing what had happened. Captain Hayes called a meeting in the briefing room, gathering her senior officers and key members of the ground team, including Alex and Ryan. When they arrived, the tension in the air was palpable. Hayes stood at the front of the room, her expression unreadable as she addressed the group. "The artifact is still active," she began, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "If we leave it in the hands of the Voidborn, or worse, let it remain uncontrolled, it could mean disaster for humanity. We need a plan." Karen Blake, who had been quiet since the sabotage incident, spoke up hesitantly. "What kind of plan?" "We barely survived our last encounter. Their technology is too advanced. We can't win this fight." Hayes turned to her, her gaze sharp. "We don't have to win outright. We just need to neutralize the threat. That's why I'm proposing an EMP strike, a massive electromagnetic pulse to disable the artifact and any nearby Voidborn ships." The room erupted into murmurs. An EMP weapon was risky, especially in such close proximity to the artifact. If it failed, the consequences could be catastrophic. But if it worked, it might buy them enough time to destroy the artifact or retrieve it safely. Ryan leaned forward, his brow furrowed. "Do we even know how the artifact will react to an EMP? It's not exactly standard tech." "No, we don't," Hayes admitted. "But we don't have many options left. Lieutenant Cole, I want you to oversee the deployment of the Empire. Alex, your knowledge of engineering makes you critical to adapting the weapon for this mission. Can I count on both of you?" Alex felt a lump form in their throat. This wasn't just another task. It was a decision that could determine the fate of countless lives. They glanced at Ryan, who gave them a reassuring nod. Finally, Alex spoke. "I'll do whatever it takes." Over the next few days, the crew worked tirelessly to prepare the EMP weapon. Alex spent hours in the engineering bay alongside Ryan, modifying the device to handle the immense energy output required. It was grueling work, but Alex threw themselves into it, trying to focus on the task at hand rather than the enormity of what they were about to attempt. As they worked, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Some of the crew seemed uneasy, exchanging worried glances whenever Captain Hayes gave orders. Even Ryan, usually optimistic, seemed quieter than usual. One night, after finishing a late shift, Alex confronted him in the mess hall. "What's wrong?" Alex asked, sitting across from Ryan. "You've been acting strange ever since we got back." Ryan hesitated, stirring his coffee absently. "It's complicated. Some people are starting to question whether destroying the artifact is the right move. What if it holds answers we can't even imagine? What if it's the key to advancing human technology or surviving whatever comes next?" Alex frowned. "But look at what it did. Look at what the Voidborn are willing to do to protect it. How can we trust something like that?" "I agree with you," Ryan said quickly. "But not everyone does, and that's what worries me. If divisions grow deeper, it could tear the crew apart." Before Alex could respond, an alarm blared through the ship. Both of them sprang to their feet and rushed to the bridge. When they arrived, the atmosphere was tense. Karen Blake stood near the main display, her face pale. "They're here," she said grimly. "The Voidborn fleet is tracking us." On the screen, dozens of ships appeared, closing in fast. The Eclipse Vanguard was outnumbered and outgunned. Captain Hayes wasted no time issuing orders. "All hands to battle stations," she commanded. "Prepare the EMP weapon for immediate deployment. We won't get another chance." The battle that followed was chaotic and desperate. The Voidborn ships swarmed the Eclipse Vanguard, firing relentless volleys of energy beams that shook the entire vessel. Explosions rocked the hull and alarms screamed throughout the ship. Despite the odds, the crew fought back fiercely, determined to protect their home and their mission. In the midst of the chaos, Alex and Ryan made their way to the weapons bay, where the EMP device was being readied for launch. Technicians scrambled to finalize the modifications, sweat dripping down their faces as they worked against the clock. "We're almost there," one of them shouted over the noise. "Just a few more minutes." But time was a luxury they didn't have. A massive explosion rattled the ship, throwing Alex and Ryan to the floor. Sparks flew from damaged panels and smoke filled the air. Through the haze, Alex spotted a crack in the wall, a breach that threatened to suck them all into the vacuum of space. "Seal it," Ryan yelled, grabbing a nearby emergency kit. Together, they managed to patch the hole just as the EMP weapon finished charging. "It's ready," a technician announced, relief evident in his voice. Ryan grabbed Alex's arm. "Let's go. We need to get this thing launched before it's too late." They ran toward the launch bay, dodging debris and narrowly avoiding falling equipment. When they reached the control station, Alex took a deep breath and entered the final sequence to activate the MP. As the countdown began, the Voidborn fleet closed in, their ships glowing ominously as they prepared to fire. 10 seconds. Ryan said, gripping the edge of the console tightly. The seconds ticked by agonizingly slowly. Outside, the Voidborn launched a barrage of attacks, lighting up the darkness of space with deadly bursts of energy. The Eclipse Vanguard shuddered violently, its shields straining under the assault. 5 seconds. Alex whispered, their hands trembling. Finally, the countdown hit 0. With a deafening roar, the EMP weapon launched, releasing a wave of electromagnetic energy that spread outward like a ripple in water. For a moment, everything went silent. The lights dimmed, the engines sputtered, and the hum of machinery ceased. Entirely. When the effects wore off moments later, the view outside was transformed. The Voidborn fleet floated lifelessly, their ships disabled. The artifact's glow had dimmed significantly, its once pulsing patterns now faint and erratic. "We did it," Ryan breathed, slumping against the console in relief. But Alex wasn't celebrating. Something felt wrong. The artifact hadn't been destroyed, it was still intact, though weakened. And deep down, Alex knew that as long as it existed, it would remain a threat. Back on the bridge, Captain Hayes surveyed the aftermath of the battle. The crew was battered but victorious, and the Voidborn fleet posed no immediate danger. Still, her expression remained grim. "Well done," she said, addressing the room. "But this isn't over. The artifact is still out there, and until it's completely neutralized, we can't claim victory." Alex stepped forward, their voice steady despite the weight of their decision. "Captain, I think I should stay behind when we return to Earth. I can help study the artifact, figure out how to destroy it for good." The room fell silent. Ryan stared at Alex, his eyes wide with concern. "Are you sure about this?" he asked quietly. Alex nodded. "Someone has to do it. I've seen what it can do. I can't walk away knowing it's still out there." Hayes studied Alex for a long moment before nodding. "Very well. You'll have my full support. But remember, this isn't just your burden to bear. We'll find a way to finish this together." As the Eclipse Vanguard limped toward safety, Alex gazed out at the stars, their mind racing with thoughts of the future. The journey had changed them in ways they couldn't fully comprehend. They had faced death, betrayal, and unimaginable power, and somehow they had survived. But survival wasn't enough. The artifact was a reminder of humanity's ambition, its curiosity, and its capacity for destruction. As Alex resolved to see this mission through to the end, they realized that their story wasn't just about survival, it was about responsibility. For now, the silence of space offered a brief moment of peace. But Alex knew that the hardest choices and the greatest challenges still lay ahead.